Modern biology paints the forest as a machine, a complex system driven by silent, unthinking instinct. Yet, whenever we walk into the woods, we find ourselves searching for a sign that the animals and trees might talk back. We have a deep-seated discomfort with that silence. Not knowing what the natural world experiences creates a psychological vacuum, one that humans have filled with mythology for thousands of years. Giving nature a human voice was our original way to bridge that gap. To understand the folklore of the forest is to understand our oldest attempt at connection. This connection is the cornerstone of life in the Khasi hills of Meghalaya, India. It is a geography defined by deep valleys and ancient root bridges, all tucked under a near-constant layer of low-hanging clouds. The Khasi people have inhabited these slopes for centuries, developing an oral tradition that pulls directly from the rhythms of this dense, misty environment. Their culture is anchored by a defining fable, Ka Duitara Ksiar Sim Kren Briew, the Golden Duitara and the Talking Bird. This story provides a lens into a worldview where the boundary separating human consciousness from animal instinct is completely dissolved. This is a duitara, a traditional Khasi stringed instrument. In daily life, it's a humble object carved from wood, used to carry the melodies of local gatherings. The fable takes this familiar object and imagines it in solid gold. This transformation elevates the duitara into a symbol of the absolute peak of human emotion and artistic reach. The narrative begins when a human takes this golden instrument into the dark woods. By plucking the strings, they send a complex melody out into the trees, casting a line into the wilderness in search of a response. Within the story, the duitara represents humanity's attempt to project its own internal consciousness out into a silent world. That response arrives in the form of the Sim Kren Briew, a bird from the deep forest that speaks and sings with a human voice. Khasi magical realism operates through the overlap of human agency and authentic animal form. While Western myths often rely on humans transformed into animals by a curse, the Sim Kren Briew is a genuine piece of the wild, granted its own inherent consciousness and agency. By giving a literal bird a power of speech, the fable validates the forest as a conscious entity rather than a passive backdrop for human activity. The story reaches its peak when the melody of the golden strings finally meets the bird's human-like voice. They begin a duet. The human leads with the duitara, and the sentient bird responds, creating a harmonious loop where the distinction between man-made art and natural song disappears. This magical convergence serves as a metaphor for ecological harmony, where mankind and the environment act as equal partners. This fable does more than entertain. It functions as a cultural operating system for the Khasi people. Hearing stories of talking wildlife trains the listener to view an ecosystem like this waterfall as a community of peers. When animals possess voices and wisdom, the environment demands a specific type of respect. It becomes much harder to recklessly exploit a world that you perceive as being populated by conscious neighbors. This perspective creates a framework where protecting the forest becomes a social obligation. In this light, the fable's magic serves as a bridge to long-term ecological preservation. The empathy found in the Khasi worldview stands in sharp contrast to the detached, modern interpretation of nature we often accept today. We don't have literal talking birds in our backyards, but there is an urgent need to adopt the underlying philosophy of that duet, the willingness to sit still and listen to what the wild is telling us. The future of our natural world is ultimately shaped by the narrative lens through which we choose to view it.